today we're going to be talking all about taking your knowledge, your expertise, your training, your courses, your consulting, and even your services into the corporate market. This is a very different beast to doing the B2C, the business to customer public market. It's a very different approach to the way that we market, the way we sell, the way we talk about our products. And in today's session, I'm going to be showing you guys everything from what are the differences between B2B and B2C. We're going to be talking about how do you actually approach and find these corporate clients in the first place. And then what do you need to do in terms of creating that commercial arrangement with that corporate client? What's involved? How do you put a proposal together? What should be in one? And then we're going to close up today's session with some practical tips as to how you can start going out there, reaching out and creating these sales conversations with people. So hello, my name is Sarah Cordiner. I am a qualified teacher, trainer, curriculum developer. I'm Female Entrepreneur of the Year 2023 in 2 awards. I own Techmatics, which is a tech platform, and gained a valuation of $15 million in its first year, as well as owning my education and training company. I have been one of the most senior leaders, the executive director and head of campus of a university, and I've worked for the government as a state manager for workforce training and development. And over the last 15 years of providing training services to the public, to government, to universities, to colleges, and to some of the biggest top 5 ASX listed companies and Fortune 500 companies, I can come in today to share with you my experience both as the service provider, the trainer, the facilitator, the consultant, but also as the person who is sat in the corporate role, who hires people like you and I, who actually has to source, communicate with, and pay trainers and consultants. So with having significant experiences on both those sides of the fence today, we're going to make sure that you are set up with everything you need to know to succeed in corporate and B2B sales. If you do have questions throughout this presentation, please feel free to drop them in the chat. I will go through and answer any in some gap moments. And we've got Sarah, obviously, who can happily interrupt me if there's something that's a question that would be really poignant in the moment. So the first thing we want to talk about is, what is it that we can actually sell to corporates? What is it that we can put out there, package up and offer to a corporate client? And the beautiful thing about that is the sky is the limit, and even topics and training that you think isn't relevant to a corporate today, my friends, absolutely is. Corporates are hiring everyone from laughter yoga instructors right the way through to statistical business analysts, behavior management, being absolutely every topic you could possibly imagine. So it doesn't matter what industry you're in terms of your field of expertise, there absolutely is an extremely lucrative corporate market for you. All right, now just to get an idea, I'd love to see in the chat the topics that we have. What do you guys teach? What's your area of expertise? What kind of things do you do training in? I'm gonna have a little look at the chat here and see what's coming up in the chat. What's your topic? What's your area of expertise?
Oh, they're all being shy. Come on, ladies.
Come on, parenting, coaching, awesome. Guess who's in the workforce? Parents. So every single person employed by an organization is a parent, and their parenting life, their parenting home life, their parenting experience absolutely directly impacts their work. It impacts their energy, their productivity, their mood, the morale, whether they're available to even be at work. And companies do not want to have high staff turnover. So this is also a topic that corporates absolutely will purchase, as long as we are selling it back to why it's important for the corporate. And don't worry, I'm going to be talking to you about that today. We've got yoga, absolutely going to be employed by corporates. How to renovate for profit. Ooh, that's interesting. Maybe you could have a twist on that in the workforce, right? Where you could say, how can you renovate for profit in the corporate workplace? Could you create more training around the ergonomics of an office, right? Rather than the ergonomics or the visual design and layout of a property, for instance. You can get very smart with this, and you could create arms off of the different angles of your training. We've got Sarah, who's a personal stylist. Absolutely love that. Confidence and presentation in the workplace is really important, particularly for your middle management up to C-suite leaders who are going to be doing presentations, pitching to their clients, standing on stages, doing corporate public speaking, helping those people find their confidence and shine and show up in a way that reflects well on the brand that they're representing is also a very hot topic. Graphic design, you're going to be going straight to the marketing department and saying, hey, I'm a graphic designer. I'd love to come in and talk to your graphic design and marketing team to help them do more marketing for your business. We've got Gen X Women's Life Coach. Perfect, right? How much of our workforce is Gen X? We can go in and talk to leadership about how to better manage and give better work environments to Gen X's, because a lot of the millennials and above and boomers running the place don't understand them. You can also talk to the Gen X's themselves about how to fit in to a multi-generational workplace. So you can be really creative about all of these different topics. I won't go through all of them. Career transitions, again, another one a corporate are going to really want you for. If they want to keep people for as long as possible, they want really high staff retention, right? Because get this, to hire a new person, if you quit your job in a corporate, to hire a new person will on average cost that employer 150% of your salary to replace you. So corporates don't want people to leave, right? They want high retention. They want people to stay for as long as possible, because losing people is freaking expensive. So if you are helping your talent management department, your head of workforce development, your head of training, by teaching them how to help facilitate career growth, career transition, expansion of job roles, to facilitate new and expanding skills in the workplace, especially as the world is changing right now, you are helping them retain staff. Okay, you're helping them multi-skill their staff. So we're going to talk more of this lingo today. I'm going to be talking to you about how do we relate what might seem like a completely corporate-y irrelevant topic, and use language that they want to hear to go, please come to my company. All right. Now, in terms of our topics, we can be selling training. We can be selling consulting. This is advice and guidance. We can be selling services. This is something you can go in and do for people. We also can do long-term contracts with our corporate clients. We can also do one-off with our clients. We can put them on subscriptions, i.e. monthly payments for a certain service. And we can also do these packages where we train a bunch of people and then we move to their next office and train a bunch of their people there, and we move to the next office and train a bunch of their people there. The whole year goes around doing that, and then you go back to the beginning and keep rolling around in that rolling cycle. So there's really no limit to the creative way that you can package up your expertise and present it to a corporate. All of these things are on the table. What they care about is, how are you going to help this company? It's the company paying, not necessarily the student, the actual employee themselves. So the question you need to be asking is, if I was to come in and share what I know with an organization, how does it help the whole organization? Does it bring them more profitability, more productivity, more efficiency, a better morale in that workplace? Does it make things cheaper? Does it, you've got to start thinking about what do the organizations get, rather than in the public space where we're really selling to the individual who's buying the course. We are going to go more into this in today's training. Now, the other thing you might be thinking about in terms of how you might sell, you in the B2C space, the public space, are usually selling to one individual at a time. You have to remember, with corporates, you're selling to groups of people, ideally at a time, right? So you can approach your corporate organization by saying, I either charge per head, per X number of people at a time, or I'm going to simply give you a monthly fee and you can send me as many people as you want a month, every month. So it can get very clever about how you package up what it is that you do. Now, I've got an example up on my screen that shows you, for example, with a learning management system, with a course creation platform like Techmatics, basically you can create a number of different checkouts or sales options for your corporates, where, for instance, you might have one price for 10 like course places, for instance. You might have another bulk price for up to 50 user licenses. Or you could turn this price into a monthly subscription and say for $5, $10, $15, $20,000 a month, you can send unlimited students through my online course or into the coaching program that I'm blend delivering with you. And again, as we go through pricing, a few more things I want you to think about when it comes to working with corporates. And people always say to me, Sarah, how much should I charge for my training? If I'm going to go and deliver a workshop to a corporate organization, what should I charge? There is absolutely no average price, I'm afraid. There is nothing I can say to you. For training and workshops, it's usually this price per head. For consulting, it's usually this. In corporate, an average does not exist, because your experience in your industry, whether you have qualifications or not, and no, you don't need qualifications to get hired by corporates, but if you have them, please brag about it spectacularly. It's going to very much help in the corporate space. It depends on whether you've got any reviews, what your position in the market is. Are you well known in your industry for what it is that you do? Do you have any kind of published work or published books? All of these things just keep adding that kind of layer of credibility. That, along with the credibility, also adds zeros. Ding! So with all of that in mind, one of the things that you might want to start breaking down in terms of working out what are your costs going to be. First of all, do you have an hourly rate at the moment with the public? Now, in B2C, in the public market, those of you that are experienced coaches, consultants, if any of you are charging less than $300 an hour, let me digitally wet slap you. All right, please be charging more, first of all. So I would be expecting you guys to be charging at least $250, $300 an hour in the public market. Now, in the corporate market, that is significantly higher than that. So I know that there's no average, but if you're coming into the corporate market at less than that, they're going to wonder how long you've been in this business, because you clearly don't know what they might pay. So again, I don't want to give you fixed figures here on this, because you need to start thinking about, what am I personally prepared to gift my time for? Whatever you are doing, you are exchanging your life for. How was that? You're literally exchanging your life for what you are doing right now. Okay, so it's very important that you ask yourself, what am I willing to use this time for? So you can set your rate that way. Then that's going to give you a rough guide for you as to then what a half day rate would be and what a full day rate would be. And in corporate, you'll usually ask for those three things. Either what's your hourly rate, or what's your half day rate, what's your full day rate, or what is the fixed price for X particular project. And you can, you'll see later in a proposal, offer all of those options. So I could say, hey, I'm an expert in workforce development. I'd love to come into your organization, deliver some training on how to manage the knowledge within your organization. And here's my hourly rate to come and do a 1 hour workshop. Here's my rate to come in for half a day. Here's my rate to come in for a whole entire day immersive experience with your team. And here's a fixed price for this special program that I could roll out over 6 to 12 months with you. These are all different ways that you can package it up. Now, I also have on my screen a list of other things you need to think about when it comes to pricing any kind of training program, workshop, consulting, or absolutely anything you might be offering, right? So you're going to be thinking about things like, do you have to do any project planning time? Writing the proposal to even send out to these corporates in the first place takes time. Factor that cost into your project proposal. This is a very normal thing to do. Writing proposals does take a while. I will usually include the cost of what it took me to prepare to pitch to them in the price they end up paying me. So you like basically get it back when you get the client.
Very early.
Is that a question? No, cool. If you have any other staff involved, you also need to consider including their wages in the costs of the program or the proposal as well. If you've got a virtual assistant, if you've got somebody helping you make slides, if you've got somebody who's, I don't know, helping book venues and things for you, all of these things are going to require costs, and you can include those costs in the total tally up of what you're going to charge your corporates to go and deliver the program. There's also the administration time that you might be taking to customize PowerPoint slides in the customer's branding, right? That's going to take extra time. Even if this is a workshop you've delivered 1,000 times, you are still going to want to put the client's logo or even colors on your slides, and that is another customization cost that you're going to need to consider. There's other things like your software, your travel, if you've got to actually physically go and get to a corporate office, if you've got equipment, if you're going to be delivering online, these are all things that you can proportionately add in the expenses back to your corporate client. And doing this is completely normal and expected in the corporate world. Now, there's a big difference, right? Can you imagine getting a member of the public come and join your course and you're like, I'm adding in a portion of the cost of my webcam to this course? They would be like, that's an outrage. Whereas in the corporate market, if you haven't broken that expense down, they're like, does this one really know what she's doing? Totally different world. Getting yourself a Excel sheet and listing down what are the things that I need to pay for and what things are going to take up my time in order to produce the best course or workshop or coaching program or service or consulting package to this client that I possibly can. You add it to your little sexy Excel sheet, and that is now going to begin to give you an idea of what you should be charging to deliver your unique service. Now, I'm going to just drop here a few things to give you just an idea of how massively different these costings can be. I've gone into corporates and just done consulting. It's just advice and guidance. There's no work involved. You turn up, you answer their questions, you tell them what they need to go and do, and you leave. And they invite you back again after sending an invoice that at minimum should be around $800 to $1,000 an hour. Okay. And then there are other projects where if they're asking you to do work, perhaps if I'm doing a workforce development plan for my clients, I'm doing a skills analysis, and then I'm giving them a full report that recommends different actions they need to take in their organization to secure their knowledge, create online courses, record the knowledge within their particular departments. That might be a 6 to 12 month project that's going to involve a huge amount of my time and even me potentially requiring the need to hire staff. And some of those projects can be upwards of $500,000 per project, okay? Because it depends what it is that you're doing, how much time and how much staff are going to be involved. So there is, as I said, no average. It really comes down to you knowing what your costs are for whatever it is that you are doing. If you're going to be delivering like a blended learning approach over 12 months, and let's say you're running a leadership program and you're going to have 1 hour a month, you're going to have 10 hours worth of preparation to get it all ready for the whole program to start. As an hour a month, you're going to be delivering training, which means you're going to have an hour a month of preparation. You might have another 2 hours a month of emailing your clients if they're sending questions through to you. If you've worked out roughly what your hourly rate is, you're going to need to be counting up all of those hours to work out what the cost of that program is for you over the 12-month period. All righty, all with me so far? Now, a little word of advice when it comes to pricing. I personally, and I'm not saying you should do the same here, I personally avoid per head costs when it comes to delivering workshops. And the reason why is because when you're charging a client per head, it's cheaper if they send you less people. So what tends to happen is they're not too bothered about bumping up your program, distributing it out to the different department heads and making sure as many people are in that training as possible because it's going to cost them money. They just want to be able to tick the box to say, we brought in a consultant to deliver training on this. Shame no one showed up. So what I do instead is when it comes to delivering a workshop and turning up, doing a 90-minute, 2-hour, 3-hour session, is I literally just say my fixed price for delivering this workshop for 3 hours is going to cost you this much money, whether you send one person to that room or 50 people to that room, because I know it costs me no more or no less to turn up. If I've only got one person that I've only charged 300, 400 bucks for, it's not even going to cover my costs to get there, right? So I personally choose for one-off workshops to have a fixed price model for me to show up. If you want me to show up on the day, this is the price. It's down to you, Mr. Client, to make sure you've got a room full of people there to really get your ROI. Boom. Okay, loves it, loves it, loves it. So here are some of the really big differences between having a business, a training or a consulting business that goes to the public versus what goes out to a corporate. So your B2C is your public, your B2B is your business to business. Now, the first thing that is the biggest difference that people that are moving from the public training space into the corporate space really struggle to wrap their head around is that the student isn't the buyer. And this is really hard to understand, right? Because in the public space, the person who we're selling to, our ideal avatar, our ideal client, is usually both the student who's going to be learning from you and the person who's paying you. In the public space, they're the same person. If I want to come and join your course, you're going to be talking to me, you're going to be marketing to me. If I like you in your marketing, I pay you and I join your course. In the business space, however, the person who walks into your training room or into your online program to take your course or learn from you is not the person who you're sending the invoice to. And this means that your pitching and your marketing is very different. We're no longer thinking about this public avatar and talking about their personal pains and their personal desires and their secret thoughts and all the things we're helping them achieve. When we pitch to business and corporate, we are instead selling to the company. And we're selling how that company is going to be so much more benefited if they hire us to teach their workforce. Let that marinate in your brain for a while. We're going to be coming back to this a bit in a moment as to who those people are that we're pitching to. And it might surprise you who they are. That it means, obviously, we're going to be telling a very different story in the way we speak, in what we write in our emails, in what we do when we pick up the phone, and all of the other ways that I'm going to be sharing with you that you're going to try and start initiating these corporate jobs. Now, the other thing is to succeed in getting B2B business, it does very much help if you are a business. This is called business to business for a reason. Under the majority of corporate insurance legislation or insurance agreements, they actually cannot hire an individual. In order to take you on, you're going to need to sign a contractors or a suppliers agreement, and that needs to be a business to business relationship for insurance purposes. So if you don't have an ABN, you are unlikely, very unlikely to get any kind of corporate contracts. So go and speak to a grown-up, your accountant, and say, it might be time for me to switch to proprietary limited or some kind of business company status, because that's the only way you're going to get these high paid corporate gigs. Okay, you have to have that. Now, talking of insurance, here's another massive difference between B2C and B2B. Now, first of all, you should all have insurance, even if you're just teaching an online course to mums, okay? And I don't mean just, I'm not putting that down, I'm just saying in comparison to corporates, that's a much smaller scaled operation. That's what I mean by the word just. You should still have professional indemnity insurance at the very least, because you're providing advice and guidance. And if somebody was to act on advice that you provided and a big fat whoopsie happened, guess whose insurance company is coming after you? So don't want to scare anyone, but this is very important when it goes to corporate, that again, you can go through all the loops I'm about to share with you to go and get a contract, and the client said yes, and you filled in your supplier form, and woohoo, you're all set up and ready to go. The final step is, please send us a copy of your insurance paperwork, and you don't have it. You could lose your client and your contract just because of your piece of insurance paper. Now, inside corporate, please don't freak, but usually they have a minimum cover liability requirement. And that is usually, in Australia, $20 million. And I know that for some of you, that's just going to make you go, oh my gosh. But please don't be too scared, because getting $20 million insurance cover actually isn't as expensive as you might think. Your first job alone is going to pay for your entire year's service fee. All right. So again, go to a broker, go to a couple of brokers, tell them what you do, and they will hunt around and find you the best deals. But I won't give you quotes, because obviously they're all different. All the insurance companies are different, and what you teach, what you do, where you go, if you hire people, they all impact the quote that you are individually going to get back. But I can assure you, to get up to a $20 million cover for your insurances will absolutely be covered in what you can charge the client in your very first job. So it's okay, you can do this. Now, the other major differences when it comes to B2B is that obviously you have to submit a written proposal, which you don't have to do with the public. You're also going to need to go through potentially a tender application process as well, particularly with the bigger companies. A lot of the time they might be hunting for a leadership trainer or a workplace well-being facilitator or something or other consultant. And as part of their fair procurement process, they will actually have to, under their own policies of operation, have to seek the quotes of at least 3 to 5 other providers so that they can then assess it against, are they getting value for money? Are they getting the best service? Blah, 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 blah. This is all part of fair procurement. And so therefore, you've got to make sure the proposal you're going to put together is totally whoop-ass. And luckily for you, you're on Sarah Cordiner's training, so your tote's going to win, because I'm going to tell you exactly what they need to see in your proposal, okay? So there are some of the major differences, and of course, the very, very formal invoicing procedure also then comes into play. It's going to need a purchase order number on it that they provide you. You're going to have a full tax invoice, ABNs, addresses, the whole shebang needs to be on there. And please also know that corporates, the bigger they are, the slower they are to pay. So if it takes you 3 months to get paid, please don't think that you have found a pain in the butt client. I'm afraid that's how it rolls in big business. The bigger they are, the slower and chunkier and lumpier it all becomes, okay? That's some big differences. And of course, the biggest one, my favorite one, is that it is way more lucrative than the public market. All right, those zeros just get bigger and bigger as you go through, which is great. Now let's talk about training particularly. Obviously, we're talking to people here who are aspiring to become corporate trainers, consultants, workshop hosts and facilitators, or have corporate customers coming onto your online courses. So there's a couple of things you want to know about the training delivery itself, the actual content that again is different to doing the public training sector and delivery. Now, the first thing that sounds weird and does make some of my customers go, what? is you should be delivering your training, your slides and everything else in your customer's branding. Now, I know that sounds really bizarre. People are so protective of their brand, but like, it's mine, it should be in my branding, right? Your customers want to see you as a partner. And the more you present yourself as their partner, as their solution, as their go-to guy or girl, the more they are going to ask you to keep coming back. Now, getting a new supplier on board is a ball ache. You've seen already how much steps we have to go through to get the contract. It is just as much of a pain in the butt from their end as it is from our end. So they ideally want to find and keep a good person, a good contractor. You want to show them that you are in this for life. It's time to get married, right? With this client, you want them to rebook you and rebook you and rebook you and rebook you, because this is where the big bucks come, yeah, from that repeat business. So this is why when I walk into Combank, I ain't doing it with Sarah Cordiner's logo on it. I'm doing it with Combank's logo on it, because then we look and feel like a partner. It's just the right thing to do in the corporate setting. However, do not ever give them your IP. Okay, just because you put their logo on it, it does not mean it's theirs. And if they say to you, hey, can we just have a copy of your presentation and your training videos and your workshops just to stick on our shared drive, you're going to say no, because I've been on Sarah Cordiner's workshop and she's told me that's very silly. This is your IP. It's very important that you protect it. What you can do is consider licensing your content and allowing them to teach your content on your behalf. But with 15 years of experience doing this, I would not personally choose that either, because let's face it, once someone's got your IP, they've got it. And what are you going to do? Go, hi, would you mind just deleting it from your shared drive because our license agreement has now expired and I see that all the people that were there last year have now left and they're not interested in renewing the license. They're going to go, yeah, whatever. Yeah, we've deleted it. Okay, don't give your IP away. Your IP is your asset. It is the most valuable thing that you have. So if they try and cheeky trick you into handing it over, you're going to go, no, thank you. But you can pay me another invoice if you would like me to come back and deliver it again. Nice. All right, glad we got past that one. Now, also, there's a couple of other things you might like to do, such as If you're using a learning management system or a course creation platform like Techmatics, you can add unlimited users to your Techmatics account, whereby you can then add in, for instance, their supervisors, their workplace mentors, their managers, so that those managers can also observe the training, check in on progress, help contextualize answers to that particular business's SOPs and operations and procedures. And also, these guys are going to want some kind of certificate at the end because they need to use it for their CPD, their continuous professional development. So that because the workplace has paid for it, they are going to want to see that Sammy and Sarah got their certificates. You can, by the way, know a lawyer, you can make these in Canva. Okay, that you absolutely can just make a beautiful template that is your logo and your client's logo, Jennifer Jones' name in the middle, the course she's taken, the date she's taken it, and your lovely sexy little signature on the bottom, and that's perfectly sufficient. I personally would take that design to Officeworks and they will print it out on beautiful certificate paper, parchment paper for you. Please don't print it out on your printer. That looks terrible after all the work and expense you've gone to. Remember that, the budgeting. Add the cost of printing certificates to your budget proposal, okay? So that this is all going to be paid for. It's all going to be included in the costings that you're putting together. There is nothing more awesome than finishing a training or a program or a coaching or a consulting period and sticking those beautiful things in the mail to that workplace. A lot of people will then list you and your organization as their training provider in their LinkedIn profile, because they've got a certificate of training with you. I've got lots of clients who have tagged at Sarah Cordiner from Main Training. I did her Train the Trainer program, and it's listed in their actual LinkedIn qualifications and training section. That's pretty cool. And all it was a beautiful Canva that I've just paid the extra $5 to get printed on beautiful parchment card. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Let's move to our next tip, which is all about preparing to pitch to your corporate clients. So remember again, I've said here, we need to think about who is the student coming into our training and who is the person booking you and paying you, because they are very different. Now, as the executive director and head of campus of a university, I was the person who had full power of that university's budget. I was solely and exclusively the person who could say yes or no to anyone being contracted, hired in as a guest trainer, a presenter, or a consultant. It was on me. And guess who I delegated the power to go and find these trainers and consultants? My EA. You go into any organization, the person with the most power gives it to their EA. And it's the EA that you, as the corporate trainer, facilitator, or consultant, is actually going to be talking to. So one of the best target lists that you can start going to collect and scraping and connecting on LinkedIn with are the EAs to either the training manager, the training director, the head of talent, to the CEO, to the director of. These are the people who are being told by their boss, hey, we need to find a trainer on leadership. Please go and find one. Make sure that they're less than 20 grand. Boom. That EA is going on LinkedIn. They're searching internet. They're searching Google. They're going to reach out to you and say, hey, can you send me pricing? You're going to put together a really sexy proposal for them. And then you're going to be calling that EA back. Hey, Jennifer, just checking in. How are you going? Would you like anything more? Can we book a call to have a chat? It's the EA that's actually going to help you get that signature. Or you're going to go, this person was a jerk to deal with, and she's going to put your stuff in the bin before it even gets to the CEO or to that purse stringer's table. Now, I know I'm using gender stereotypes here. My apologies. It's just for the sake of illustration. Think about this. Now, the other type of target audience you want to be considering here is the kind of department that your topic relates to most. Now, earlier in this presentation, I picked some of the audience today. Some of those people are going to be better targeting the marketing manager of that corporate organization. If they've got a skill that is focused on helping the business with their brand, with their visibility, with their messaging, getting seen, reputation, I would be going to the marketing manager, the marketing director, the director of whatever other words we use for marketing today, and there's loads of them. And then once I've friended or connected with those guys on LinkedIn, then I'm going to go and hunt down their EAs and I'm going to friend their EAs as well. Now, those of you who might be more into the workplace well-being space, you might be going to HR. I'd be going to the HR manager, the HR director, the head of people talent, and connecting with them, and then hunting down their EAs. If, like me, you're more doing train the trainer, workforce management development stuff, again, it's going to be more head of talent, but you get the point here. You need to now sit down and go, what department head is going to be most interested in what it is that I'm teaching about or consulting about? Because there isn't ever one specific person in an organization who is in charge of all of the procurement and all of the bookings of corporate trainers and consultants. Okay. Now let's talk about your business to business proposal. Let me tell you, the first time you write this, it's gonna be such a drag, right? The first one, you've got to do all this stuff from scratch, and it does feel big, and it does feel heavy, and it does feel very administratively dull. However, once you've done the first one, you're just gonna go duplicate, and you're simply gonna change a couple of the parts of it and the logos on it. So let's walk through what must be in a business proposal in order for you to sell your training, your courses, your consulting, and your services to corporates. Glad you asked, because I have some tips for you. So I have a few absolute must-have minimum things that have got to be in a proposal if you want to win the business. Now, number one, I've mentioned before, please make sure that with your proposal, you are co-branding that proposal as if you are already a partner with that organization. So yes, have some of your own logos on it, but I personally brand the entire thing in their branding, make them the primary logo on the proposal, and my logo is usually quite small, either at the bottom or just the top left hand side. Remember, it's about them, it's not about you, it's about them. And the more important you make them look and feel, the more likely you're going to be looked at. It's just how our human behavior works, right? You're going to need a contents page, you're going to need a beautiful cover on the front, and make sure you've got footers, page numbers, and the branding, the logos are on every single page. Okay, make sure it all looks nice and consistent. Now, the introduction page is where you're going to be talking to them about their needs and their business objectives. One of the biggest mistakes I see when I'm teaching people to go out and sell their training to corporates is the first page is all about themselves. Here's a whole page all about me, all about my experience, all about how fantastic I am and what I teach, right? No, we're going to save that for later. That is important, but the first page needs to be about them, and they need to see that you know what their corporate objectives are. Now, I am going to touch on this a little bit more in a moment, because there's a cheat hack for doing this. And of course, you're here, Sarah, there's always a special way that I make everything faster for you. So this is basically going, if you, for instance, that this particular organization has a strategic objective to, I don't know, create more community cohesion between certain groups of people, and that's their core strategic objective for that year, then you know that front page needs to touch on that. We've seen that your corporate responsibility key objective for 2024 is to create community cohesion in this particular area, I don't know, because the crime rate's high, or we've got different types of cultures living together and we want those cultures to live in harmony. Mr. Corporate Client, as a workforce development consultant, I would love to help you achieve that strategic objective and meet your corporate responsibility to the community of creating more inclusion by helping you see and pull out all of the knowledge from your people's heads and blah, 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 right? You're going to say, this is what I know you want to do, and I can help you do that. I'm going to show you how you find out what it is that they want to do. in a minute. Okay, after you've got a page intro showing that you understand what their corporate responsibility targets or their strategic objectives are, you're then going to go into the scope, what it is that you actually do. What do you offer? What are the things that you do? Is there a particular type of consulting you do, a particular service you offer, or particular topics of training and workshops? Keep it simple, bullet point list. I can consult you on this, I can train you on this, I can do online courses, I can come to your workplace and deliver X, Y, and Z topics as training. Boom. Scope. That's what we mean by scope. The next thing is your actual proposal. So you now have said, I know that this is what you want to achieve and I can help you achieve that. This is a little bit about what we do. And now I would like to propose that we're going to deliver a 12-month program to all of your C-suite leaders who happen to be parents and are struggling with this so that you can reach that corporate objective. Boom. Then the next page you're going to have is a really detailed curriculum outline of exactly what you're going to teach. Every learning outcome, every kind of lesson plan, so to speak, every topic that you will be covering in whatever training, consulting, or program it is that you are proposing. You're also going to list down the different package options that they could purchase from you. So, for instance, if you have one option, number one might be a purely online course. So that might be your option package number one. Here, Mr. Client, here's your cheapest option, package number one, self-study online course. Boom, it's going to cost you this much money for this many people to join it. Package number two, Mr. Corporate Client, is for us to do an online coaching program where I actually come in and coach your people. And that's going to be this much for this many people for this period of time. Package number three, Mr. Client, is when I come into your organization once every 3 months and they get the online course and they get the coaching, and that is going to cost you this much for this many people. Boom. That's what we mean by packages. I recommend offering them 3 and no more than 3, because then decision fatigue sets in and they have no idea what to pick. But you're gonna state at the bottom, these 3 packages are suggestions. If you would like us to create a custom package for you, please contact me and book a call here and we can discuss a custom package, which of course is going to be significantly more expensive because you're going to make something just to suit their exclusive needs. Then, and only then, are you now going to introduce yourself. Now you can talk about yourself. Get out your trumpets, because this, my friends, is absolutely where you need to brag like mad. This is where every single qualification you've got, bragging rights, how long you've been in the industry, other clients that you've worked with, especially if it's their competition. This is where you basically want to say, look, I'm good and people hire me and people like me and I'm freaking hot. Book me here, right? You're going to love it. You're going to absolutely love it. Then at the very bottom, you're going to then have finally your terms and conditions, payment terms, milestones, whatever it is, and signatures at the bottom. This just shows that you are familiar with the corporate space, that you're organized, that you're professional, and this really is going to go down an absolute treat with the people who receive this, instead of the people who haven't been on Sarah's workshop, or who are just simply sending out an email saying, hi, I'm a trainer and this is me and this is me and this is me. Can you book me, please? Guess who's going to win when they're comparing an email like that to your sexy, beautiful, amazing, thought through, professionally designed proposal, which, by the way, you're going to do on Canva. So let me show you, I'm going to give you show you a little something here, first of all. Oh, what am I doing? I just need to share my screen. All right, let's do that. Let me show you a couple of little things here. This is a proposal from 2013. This was a proposal that won me initially a $150,000 contract, and that went on to significantly bigger contracts after that I didn't need to write proposal for because I'd already become a contractor. So this is basically, there's the scope. There is a little bit about the history that we had with this organization. Here's what they want to achieve. Then here's our proposal of what we want to offer them. There's the breakdown of all the stuff, the training that we're going to deliver to them, and all of the details of the learning that they're going to get, blah, 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 blah. Then we go into the cost breakdown over here. And then finally, we have the contact me and sign off stuff at the bottom. Now inside Canva, you also can find training templates there. People who are members of my Legends Lab do get my Canva editable documents. And I'll just show you an example of one here that I give away as a template. You can see here, front page, change the photo to be of you or your customers, kind of something that would match them. You can even go to their website, download one of their photos from their website and make this all their branding. And then we've got logos of you and your client on there too. Table of contents, them, let's talk about them, what their objectives are. Here's what I'm proposing, here's our scope. Here's what we're going to deliver for you. Here's the outline of the steps and what they're going to learn. Here are your 3 package options and more details about the actual proposal itself. Here is all about me or my team. Here's some reviews and testimonials. Here's all of your competition that have hired me. And final terms and conditions. And then the sign off page at the back. So hopefully this just gives you some idea as to what would be inside a proposal. Now, the great thing about using Canva is obviously find a template that you absolutely love. From there, you can simply duplicate it every time you want to send a new one out. And better than that, once you have actually written the main part about your programs, about your offerings, about your proposals, the only bit that actually then really needs to change each time is the branding, the logo, and the front page, which is all about what their objectives are. And you can now get a virtual assistant to do that bit for you because you've done all of the detailed explaining of your training. So let me show you, I said I was going to share a tip with you on how do you know what their corporate responsibility targets are? How do you know what their strategic objectives are? If you're going after the big boys, the great news is that they are obligated to publicly share their strategic plans. Yay! Which means you can find them on the internet. Yay! So what you're going to do, here's a perfect example. Let's say I want to target Combank. That's a client I really want to go after, for instance. P.S. one of my clients. This is where I simply went into Google and typed in target client strategic plan or strategic objective. So literally just go into Google, type in which client you want, Rio Tinto, strategic plan. Sometimes it's called annual review like this. But as you go through, oh, looky, strategic priorities. There's our strategic priorities. Boom. They want to increase leadership. They want to reimagine banking, right? So you're going to go through and find their keywords. Okay, this is one of the first things that you want to do. Now, you lucky things, we didn't have this before. Hello, ChatGPT. All right, hi there. All you need to do is download that strategic plan, that corporate objective, whatever it is that they've done. So I don't think I've got that on here, but you download it, you add it in as an attachment to ChatGPT, and you're going to say, hi, I am a workplace trainer or facilitator or consultant in the topic of blur. I would like to go to Commonwealth Bank and offer my services as a trainer. Here is a copy of their strategic plan, annual review, corporate objectives, whatever they've called it. Please read this document and suggest for me the top 5 things or ways that my training will actually help them achieve their strategic objectives or their corporate responsibility targets. Boom. ChatGPT is actually going to tell you, based on what I've just read, you should really focus on these things and hit those down hard. Then you're going to say to ChatGPT, thank you, I agree. Please write me a single page for my training proposal that is going to explain how I can help them reach those objectives that I can put in my training proposal's first page. Boom. Now, never copy and paste. I would still reword it in the way that you speak and talk, obviously, because when they start talking to you and see that this is all a load of very corporate fluff, right? Please don't think you have to be very corporate-y and we this and we that, right? You can speak how you speak today, okay? I am this, I've come from a gypsy background, I've fell in love with teaching and training, and this is now what I do. And I've been doing it all here, and here's your objectives, blah, 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 okay? Boom. This is a really easy way for you to really nail that. And of course, this bit can be done via VA. Your job is simply going to be to check it at the end. Now imagine if you've got someone working for you 2 or 3 hours a week to just pump these out to your target customers. Exciting, right? You keep it up, you're going to get a contract at some point. Okay, any questions so far? We're going good? Hey, everyone's just like all right, yes, I did breathe once. This is fantastic, glad you're loving it. Oh, let me try and put this on our slide deck over here. Alrighty, where were we? We were at putting this proposal together now. We're coming close to the end now. Here's our final slide. Our two final slides. I just want to touch on again, going back to that topic of how do we know how to convince them to buy from us? How do we make sure that our clients are going, wow, this person's really talking to me? Here is some other corporate lingo that you definitely want to consider working with, and don't just dump lingo into a proposal, right? You actually have to genuinely help them meet that outcome. But it's going to be things like, if you hire me to do this training, for example, it's going to improve productivity and effectiveness. It's going to increase profitability. We're going to have uniformity of work processes, i.e. standardization. If I'm teaching all of your people how to do this particular thing in all of your locations, you're going to have a standardized approach to the way that this is done. Great. It may be to meet your continuous professional development objectives, to meet your corporate strategic goals, to meet the promises that you're making and under your corporate responsibility, to create or reduce, for instance, the friction or conflict inside your organization. How many bosses spend 90% of their time dealing with petty shit between their staff? As somebody who's been a boss, I'm telling you now, it's 90% of your job. So when someone comes to me who's a trainer who basically says, my training is going to help them get along and stop fighting like babies, believe me, I'm interested. So who was there who does parenting, you can be really smart and funny with the way that you tie those two things together. You could literally go up to the CEO and say, look, I normally teach parenting to parents who have 10,000 toddlers wiping their butt on the windows, but I know that being in business as a C-suite manager is pretty much the same. They're just more expensive. So in my training, I'm going to teach you how to blah, blah, blah. Okay. So you can be really fun with this. Please don't lose yourself as a human when you start working with corporates. And in fact, the more different you are, the more fun you are, the more relaxed you are, the more you're going to connect with the human who's booking you. Okay. Come in, be extra. I certainly rock up into those very stale boardrooms with the brightest, glitteriest shirt on and make people laugh as I walk through the corridor. Because if your job isn't coming in there to shake things up, to make people think differently, then what else are you there for? This is why they are hiring you. They are bringing somebody in from the outside instead of internally because they need people to pay attention. All right, so be extra, be glamour, be however you want to be. Don't think you've got to be all stuffy and suity. Now, of course, I'm not saying that's wrong to be that either. You've got to be you. Just don't change who you are for the sake of walking into a corporate organization. Now, finally, the most important part of this process. How do we find corporate clients? This is our last part of this training today. Now, like anything, like all marketing, there are unlimited ways that you can start connecting with your corporate customers. The first way that I got my first local government contract was simply going direct to them, picking up the phone and saying, hey, do you need any staff training? If so, in what? And back then, that's what I asked. And I wrote training based on what they needed and delivered training and hired trainers based on what they needed back then. But outreach, honestly, it still works to this day. Now, another really clever way is through LinkedIn. I've mentioned LinkedIn a few times today. I would go, as we've gone through this process now, we know what department head or manager or director we are looking for. We're going to go to LinkedIn and literally type that job title in. There is then a filter that comes up under that search result, and this is all on the free plan, where you can then even filter based on the organization's name or based on the country or location or city. Now, what I do is I create a big Google Excel sheet, and FYI, if you've got the spare cash to hire a virtual assistant for a couple of hours a week, this might be something you get a virtual assistant to do. To just basically go through and find all of those names, what their job titles are, and here is a hack to get their emails. If I know that Jonathan Dunn is the training manager for Commonwealth Bank because LinkedIn told me that, now all I need to know to get Jonathan Dunn's direct email is what CommBank's email convention is. So what do I mean by that? Is it john.dunn@commbank.com or is it jdunn@commbank.com? How do we know that? You're simply going to go to CommBank's website, download the free Chrome extension called Email Hunter, hunter.io, and you're going to click the little Email Hunter button on your Chrome extension, and it's going to show you what the email convention for that organization is. meaning I will know if it goes first name dot last name at combank.com, or if it's first initial last name at combank.com. It's going to show you what the convention is. Meaning that now, with a combination of LinkedIn, who tells you what their name is and what the job title is, and now knowing the actual email convention, you have every single person's email address in the entire organization. Whoop! Hacky, baby, hacky. So then you're going to send an email out to them. Of course, you've been on Sarah's workshop, so you've made a sexy, beautiful proposal. And you're like, hi, Jonathan Dunn. It must be awesome being the training manager at Combank. I would love to help you out in meeting this strategic objective of yours. Look how smart I am. I've attached a proposal. I'd love to book a time to chat. When are you free? When are you free? Best final line to put on an outreach email, because it requires a response. And if they don't reply, my follow-up is, oh, hey, John, I know you must be so busy as the training manager at Combank, but is Tuesday at 3 p.m. okay for you for us to have a quick chat? Very good. And if he still doesn't reply, you pick up the phone and you say, hi, Combank, I'd love to talk to Jonathan Dunn, the training manager, please. Yes, let me put you through. Hi, John. Now, it feels a little bit stalky, but people are busy, and it's usually the only way that you can finally get that conversation happening. So we've also got in here a whole bunch of other methods that you can use. Speaking at conferences, guys, is how I made my first $1 million. I rocked up in Australia from the UK with nothing but a box full of bikinis in the winter, and I had no email addresses, I had no contacts, I had no website, I had no followers. So I thought the only way I can get myself in front of corporates who I want to book me for training and consulting is to literally plonk myself into a room full of 1,000 of them, and where they can't get away because they've got exhibition booths. They can't escape me. So I simply went down to the convention center in my local city. I couldn't afford to buy a ticket. So admittedly, this is a very true story. I waited outside on day one of the conference, and every single person who came out, I was like, excuse me, are you coming back tomorrow? Can I have your lanyard? And eventually a guy called Pete said no, looked at me like I was a literal disease, gave me his lanyard, and I walked around called Pete for the next 2 days, and I got over 300 business cards. I had a whole entire calendar full of meetings and appointments the following week, and within 6 weeks, I'd made very high six figures. Within 12 months, I'd crossed over the $1 million mark just from using that tactic. I had blisters to my bones on my little trotters because I ran around that conference, and my goal was to make sure I spoke to every single person in that room and got their business card. And you betcha, I emailed and followed up and phoned every single one of them and said, can I come and meet you? Can I have a meeting? Can I come and deliver a free workshop for you to have a taster of me? And that is how I made my first $1 million. Really simple method. Sometimes more work than people are prepared to do. And this is an interesting mindset one. I have so many clients come to me and say, Sarah, I'll do anything to make this business work. I'll do anything to make this dream come true. And I'm like, would you do a video every day? They're like, oh no, not that. Would you go to a conference and feel like an idiot doing small talk with people all day? Oh no, that's too much. You're just too much hustle. And I'm like, well, then you don't really want it, do you? You wouldn't really do anything, right? If you are willing to make yourself look a bit uncomfortable, feel a bit uncomfortable, open up these conversations and trap people in their booths to say, can I help you? You're not going to make it unless you're willing to do those things. Now, there's lots of other ways. Email outreach is really cool. Now, cleverly, guys, you can purchase data lists of your target audiences as well. One of the things that I did is I wanted to work with those big ASX listed companies. They're the big publicly listed IPO companies. I simply went to Google and typed in the ASX list of companies in Australia, and it literally gives you a list. So I went through that list. I went to LinkedIn, I found all of my target people that I want to reach out to from each of those companies and reached out to them that way. The other way is you can literally buy contact databases, and some of them are pretty affordable. I'm talking thousands of contacts for as little as $200. You also can hire data scrapers on Upwork. So I've done that. Roughly speaking, you can get something like 150 to 200 data entries for about $30. So if you wanted to hire your own data scraper, you're going to say, I want these kinds of job titles in this list of organizations. Please make me a massive Google sheet. You might find that thousands and thousands of that data being scraped by a data scraper is going to get you some super duper really amazing contacts that you can then reach out to. Now, there's lots of other ways that you can do this, but here's a final tip. And this is one that I used years ago, and it actually got me a massive contract as a consultant. And it was looking on job websites. How bizarre is this? But a lot of these organizations, when they have a skills gap, will put up a job on Seek. So I recommend go and sign up to Seek as if you are a job seeker and put in what kind of jobs you're looking for. Every time a job comes up, you're going to contact that organization and say, hey, I see that you're looking for somebody. How about, instead of really going into the overheads of hiring a full-time employee, we all know how expensive they are, right? I'm a consultant who does exactly that. And you can hire me as a consultant instead without having the fixed overheads of an employee. And some of them say, sure, that's a much better idea than taking on an employee who's an expensive and a whole bowl of problems. Brilliant. It absolutely works. Megan has asked a question. Who would I reach out to in a corporate role to get a yoga contract? So I'd be talking to HR. If you're doing any kind of well-being stuff, you're going to be going to the HR manager, or because those people are dealing with workplace injuries, with all of the workplace stress problems. Those are the people who are like, anything that's going to reduce all of these problems and people with their personal injury claims and they're bitching and they're stressed, right? You're going to want to talk to them, all right? They're going to be bringing in people like you. So there we have it, my friends. Those are the different must-know strategies for taking your training, your courses, and your consulting to B2B, business to business, and corporate clients. My name's Sarah Cordiner. Thank you very much for coming along. If you do have any questions, you can reach out to me directly on sarah@sarahcordiner.com. And if you'd like a copy of the slides that I've been showing today, then please also email me, sarah@sarahcordiner.com, and let us know that you're on today's training and you would like a copy of the slides, and I will send you a copy of them free of charge. That would be amazing. If any of you need help or consulting or training in this, obviously please come and let me know. I do provide one-on-one coaching sessions. If you'd like some more help structuring out your proposal, helping you work out what your packages or your offer of delivery might be, we can do that on a one-on-one call together. Otherwise, thank you all very much for having me today.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sarah. Gosh, I can't thank you enough. That was so good. I'm sure all of my ladies agree. That was absolutely fantastic presentation. Jam-packed with information. I think we're all going to be watching the replay because you shared so much value. Super appreciative. Now, Sarah, thank you so much for that generous offer for us to be able to reach out to you if we have any questions. Really appreciate that. So thank you for your time. It's been fantastic. Ladies, any quick questions for Sarah just before she logs off? No, lots to take in.
Everyone's just going, what the hell just happened?
No, I need to watch it back again. That's how I feel. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the recording. Yeah, go Megan.
Just wondering, so you mentioned you use a platform, and could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's obviously lots of different kinds of softwares and platforms that you can use. A corporate client is going to expect you to have some kind of professional looking setup if they're going to be logging into courses and training with you. There are platforms out there that are just exclusively learning management systems. You may have heard of platforms like Thinkific or Podia. Then there are all-in-one platforms. Kajabi is one platform that calls themselves an all-in-one, but isn't actually entirely an all-in-one. It's the closest to it. I do own a company called Techmatics. So just FYI, this is a little bit biased, if I do say so myself. But Techmatics is an all-in-one business platform. It's a CRM, email marketing, websites, all of your courses, memberships, all of your corporate work can be hosted on there. It's a social media scheduler, an AI bot. You can put all of your outreach to your clients on autopilot with it as well. If you do want to go and check that out, I'll just stick the link I'll just put the word Techmatics so you know how to spell it in the chat if any of you do want to go and have a look at a demo on there. But basically what you're going to be wanting to do with the actual delivery of your training, if you're doing online stuff, is you're going to want to record your training. Now, doing this on a recording on Zoom is perfectly sufficient in today's world. Actually, it used to be very different a few years ago. Really high production was expected. But in today's world, nice short bursts of training. I call it lunch break learning. You're better off delivering workshops in 60 to 90 minutes, recording them on Zoom like this is perfectly fine, and then uploading them into that portal so that you have control over how many people are enrolled in that program, who the enrollees are. It tells you whether or not they've completed the training so that you know whether to issue them certificates, gives you their progress data. It basically just is a much more professional experience, both for the learner, because they can watch that training in a proper portal, and from a mobile app that is branded with your branding. If you're using Techmatics, that all comes included. But also for you, from that reporting perspective, particularly if you're billing based on per head, you need to be able to go to your dashboard and see CommBank has enrolled 76 people this year. I need to make sure I've invoiced them for 76 people. And you've got a full report that you can attach to your invoice to say, here's how much you owe me, dudes. So that's really important. Like, you have to really own this. If you want to go in there, they want someone who comes across as confident. Now, FYI, even if you're absolutely pooping your pants, which you will be, you've got to look like you're not. So have belief in yourself, because they want to feel completely confident that you've got this. You're going to look after this, you're going to look after them. So believe in yourself. Make sure that you, in writing that proposal, truly into your guts believe, I am the best person to deliver this training or this workshop. They are going to be so pleased that they picked me. Right? You're putting that energy out there. You're going to walk in with that energy. They're going to feel that energy. You're going to get picked. But you have to believe in you. And more importantly, follow up. Corporate world is excruciatingly slow. So if you don't hear back in 9 months, it doesn't mean they're not interested. It means they haven't got to it yet. It's at the bottom of their inbox of 7,000 emails, and it's not urgent yet because they haven't had a workplace incident around that matter. So keep following up. What I do with my software is I simply have an automation that keeps following up with them every 6 months. Wait for 6 months, send the email again. Wait for 6 months, send the email again, because this is going to make sure that you're always top of mind when there is a workplace incident that surrounds that matter. They're going to go, let's call Sarah. Done. But go for it. Good luck.